Okay, little update. Got my fan units and motors. Ooh, this is better than the one I had in it. This is the Pro version with aluminum spinners. Should be better. Balanced too. So I'm gonna make sure that things fit and get an idea for the ducting, which I don't think it'd be too hard to engineer. You might make it out of carbon cloth over foam, then melt the foam out. Not sure yet. Also, I got my incidence meters. That's going to be interesting. They've been sitting for a little while. Need batteries. Luckily they didn't explode or leak. I'm starting to suspect, I think I may have fixed this already with the previous jig. I'm not sure. I won't know until I put it on there. I think the wetting of the wing will be the right mode of continuance. Although, if I have to be radical, I may slice it. I don't know. I could probably slice it right here, just in the sheeting. Maybe even the leading edge, but not through the spar. And then just, you know, and then sand, putty. It wouldn't translate as much here as much as it would out there, I suspect. But I'm just hitting things around in my head. The inlets I'm worried about being too small, but I may be able to shave a little bit off, maybe 1/8 of an inch, give it a little bit more opening. Not sure yet. But the more and more I look at this thing, the more and more I'm getting excited about it. Oh boy, wow. Been too long, way too long. God, what a great airplane. I hope it doesn't spin out of the air.
Ja.
So who knows? But I'm definitely gonna fly it for sure. So let's see if I can get the fan in. And we're back. I didn't seem to have it shoved all the way back into the tail cone, but now it is. What I want to do is I want to use the inlet rings. I might have a problem with the outer tube there, which is basically a 2-liter bottle sheeted with 1/64 ply. So in order to get it in there, I'm going to have to cut it back, but it looks like it's going to go back behind that firewall there. That would suck if I can't get that in there. It looks like it's got enough space all the way around. If I could just cut it. So I'm thinking it might work. But I may not have to use them, but we'll see. I don't know. I'll have to get somebody's opinion on it. So let me put everything in, take another look at it. There's the rotor. That's in. As far as ducting is concerned, that doesn't look too hard. Just a straight tube. That's a cone. I'd like to have it as big as that, but I don't think it's going to work. I think my original idea was to put the fan units way up front. That's what my original idea was. But no, that doesn't fit. Probably would. I think that's what it was, but everybody was saying it's better to put them as close to the back as possible. You could cut a cheater hole if you need be. Not that I would want to do that, but I could. I think there is enough room for ducting. I think that this is big enough due to its geometry. It's not just a round hole at the tip or front. So I think we're good. I'm going to enlarge a little bit, maybe 1/8 of an inch, just because I got a sand on it. Depending on, you cut into it, who knows, it'll go into things, and you know, then you're at filling and fixing. So I don't know, I don't remember, I have to look. I think I put putty at the corners where the sheeting meets. I'm not sure. Have to get in there and look. Need a bore scope, for God's sake. So that's about it. That's with the inlet ring on. So okay, now I've grinded a space away right there for the ring, so I have to know. So I would rather not send away for new shrouds to Germany. But I can make them if I need to pull the fans a little forward. But I don't want to do that either, because then you're lengthening the exhaust tubes, you're losing thrust. Probably not much, but I really don't want to do that. But it seems if I stuff it in there, it looks like, I can't really see too well, but I got plenty of room. It's just it's hitting right there, the center of the picture, next to the piece of plywood, and it's hitting on this side. Now on the opposite side is where I have the nacelles. You can't really see them. Right there where the putty is, or actually where the stripping meets the plywood right there. I think I can dig it down 1/8 of an inch, which is all I think it needs. And maybe I will be able to use these rings. I'm not quite sure yet, but if not, it's okay too, because they'll just make the ducting smooth. I think still, like I said, no matter what it loses, I will have plenty of power no matter what. So either way, you try to use what you have. So we'll see. Have to do some more grinding. Look, out of focus. Alright, here we are again. I just got my fan units in the mail. Wemotech MIDI fan Pro. So these are actually better than the ones I had in before. 89 millimeter. Ones I had before did not have aluminum spinners. That's the only difference I can see. Maybe they did something with the injection or something, I don't know. Maybe a different component. But I have a problem. My problem is that I need to fit this motor into this fan, but it has the wire sticking out the front of the motor where it mounts, and the back spins. In other words, the whole motor spins. Good venting. Looks good. Warhead 1850 kV. I was told these motors will run on 8S and really crank, but I don't think I'm going to be able to use it for super high power, because I've been reading about the Horten, and they said too much power will cause it to spin out of the air. I read this on a forum dealing with the Horten 9. Although this person makes some valid points, they are not all thought out correctly in my opinion. So, quote, I suspect the
9 models out there all suffer from some basic design error in the wing sections. Curiously, the 9 design, as per the Bentley drawings, features little to none of the infamous parental bell lift distribution curve, just to annoy the true believers. However, crank up the speeds to jet-like, and on a hard, often not so hard turn, the things simply flutter fall out of the sky. Nothing works except watching on the way down. Hopefully your Horten wing, being of differing center section, may not have the famous fall. The Hortens were good enough aerodynamicists, but they also had this religious adherence to the no fins part about near flugels. Well, it's called a tailless, finless aircraft after all, isn't it? The whole bell-shaped lift distribution thing was only to avoid adverse yaw when turning with elevons and without better directional stability. Well, believe it or not, the Horten 9 did not use elevons. It had elevators, flaps, ailerons. The middle, most of the control surfaces were the elevators. Power slope soar models do passably well, though. I built a very heavy Sloper 9 years ago. I had no trouble with the speed and turns. In fact, it was so heavy that the only way it could fly. Once a significant efflux and genuine speed is added to the mix, it all changes, usually dramatically. Well, we'll see about that, won't we?
So we have to cut a hole at the very front of the tube here to go up and out the shroud. Not too close to the end on the inside. The other fans that I had before, what I did is I just cut a slot. And I don't think I want to do that this time. I'm going to actually cut a hole. So that's what I'm going to do. And we'll go through the whole process of problem solving with this. Should be interesting. Alright, this is the plan. Because I wanted to use these motors, I've run into some difficulty with this wire. So I have to make a guide in order that I can get the hole correct. Now, the way the motor is going to sit in the plan is this is the bottom. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say the bottom. Maybe it is. Well, anyways, no matter how it fits, there's only one position that the motor sits at. When the holes line up, there's only two, which I don't really care for, but they did sacrifice that for venting, it seems. The motor is vented. I don't think it's dynamically balanced, but whatever. And it's got plenty of room for oxygen getting in. The wires I got to be careful of. I don't want to keep bending them back and forth. So the plan is to line up the holes with these wires in between the fins. It can't be on it or behind it. It's got to be pretty much, and if I remember right, what I did was I had it like this and I went like this, and it was like that. Let me see. You can't really see in the light. Yes, that's it right there. So that's the position. I've checked it all the way around, and pretty much that's the only one where it comes out pretty much in the middle, the wires. Now they have to be positioned right behind this angle because that's where the rotor lies. So it can't come in front of this line right there. Like I said before, the last fans that I had, which were a first generation of this fan, I just cut the entire inner shroud here all the way down. And I do not want to do that this time. So I have to find a way to bore a hole, but at an angle and inside. So in order to achieve that, I have to make a template for the motor, which means we have to measure this thing here. I don't know what it is. It's got the old handy dandy Fairgate, don't know the technical name of it. Try to find the diameter of the hole. Not 3/8. 30 seconds. 13, 30 seconds? Never heard of that. Oh, wow, look at that. So, wow, that's right on. I guess that translates into metric, so that's cool. All right, so that's going to be the center hole. This is my piece of paper, which is like a little bit heavy, card type stock. Came inside the thing, just basically telling me that the hole in the prop adapter is 1/100th of a millimeter undersized. Blah, blah, blah. Heat the motor shaft, no problem, in order to get it to go on. No problem. And so I need, so I've got 30 seconds, and then we got to find the diameter of the motor. And it is, oh, there you go, that's about it. 1 1/4, okay. Alright, so I'm going to cut a hole in the very center of this, center it on this, and I'll show you another technique. And then we will have a template, and I may cut it out of plywood. And then the idea is to put a mark where the wires are falling, and then to put it on these two holes on the inside. And wherever it's marked for the wires is where the hole goes. In order to bore the hole, most likely I'm going to use a piece of copper tubing, not unlike this. Up in here, it's going to be heated. It's going to go against whatever I have down here so it doesn't melt anything. Lined up on the mark and go psst, and go through. And that should be able to bore a hole through it. That's the only way I can think of doing it without a 90-degree adapter for my Dremel, and I do not have that. So that's the plan. And if I decide to change motors in the future, if these turn out to be bunk, I will be able to just fill it with fiberglass. It's easy. Put a piece of tape behind it, put some resin in there, and some, whatever, and then sand it, and then it's fixed. Not a big deal. It's just a shroud. That's all it is. Could even change these out. There's some of these Chinese fans that are actually copies of this. But I trust the Germans, because the Germans got good stuff. Very good stuff. Very good stuff. Look at that wing that they designed in World War II. My gosh. Okay, so let's make a template. Alright, template made. It doesn't have to be exact. Basically, you just want to be able to line up the holes so that you can get, proper alignment because of these two. And I end up drawing a red line where the wires fall. And then you will put a couple of studs here, which is 3mm. Okay, 3mm screws, and then you put this down there. And then that will tell you where the wires will fall. So what we'll do is we'll take this, we'll put her on here like this, and we'll go like this. The holes will line up to a certain extent. Doesn't have to be Mondo perfect. Just want to draw a red line right here. The wires fall. That's all you want to do. Okay, so that puts the wires coming out of the fan there. That's towards the top. Maybe that's better. I have to look at it again inside the airplane before I make the final decision. So, that's what I'm going to do. Anyways, that's it. And so, like I said, then you just spin this thing around. We'll spin this around on the inside to tell us which, where, in between which stators to put it. And then I'll drop a screw in there to center it. And then I'm going to probably have to hack a piece of tubing like this. And then like maybe about an inch long, heat it up till it's practically red. Get a pair of pliers or a needle nose, drop it down in there and go like that right over that red line. And that will bore a hole through where I want to go. I may have to make this thing out of either plywood or aluminum. I hate to make it out of aluminum. It's going to take just too much time. So probably be plywood. And then just go, and then you got a hole. And then you can take a piece, another piece, and just keep continually going through the shroud and keep things so they're not going this way or that way. And then you'll have another hole coming through, and then you're good. You got the wires coming out, and so it sucks that it's in the airflow, but there's nothing I can do about it except for buy a new motor, which I don't really want to do. I don't really care because these motors are going to produce so much thrust that whatever disturbance is in there, I don't think it's going to matter. I really don't. Especially if I was to run it on 8S, which I'm not. It's going to run on 6S. So there we go. There we go. Okay. Now this is what I've found after making my template. It will only work one way for both fans. So in other words, the wires are going to come out in the same position regardless of what I do, which is okay. Now, pretty sure right here is going to be the proper place, because yes, it's lining up right there. So we should end up having the wires fall right between these two stators. Okay. Oh, look at that, it's perfect. Okay, so everything's lined up. It is off a little bit though. I mean, that's the reason why I did this and I didn't just drill a hole through the top. Because it's I can't go too far forward or after, it's going to mess the alignment up. So I did this, and that's why I have to literally burn a hole from the inside using this, which I'm going to heat with my torch. But there will be a metal washer to prevent myself from melting anything on the bottom by pushing down too hard. So I guess I could do it like this. I might have to mark this one too, so I got a guide. Plop that sucker in there like that, and I may trim a little bit off that too, but heat it up. You count to 20 or something like that. You go down in like that, and you push until it comes through. Then if it doesn't work, you stop, let it cool, blow on a little bit, pull it off. Do the same thing until you get through. This is a glass-filled nylon, so it might be hard to get through it. I'm not quite sure yet. I may have to do a couple of tests on some other materials. But I figure if I cut that back maybe 1/8 of an inch, it'll give me a little bit more space. I'm going to run into hitting here. I don't want to melt anything. These things aren't, they were $71 a piece, so then you go through like that. So it's looking like I might have to come a little bit closer to this stator here. instead of directly in the center. And the idea behind that is because the holes are all, you know, it's just the way things fall. That's just what's going to happen. And then I will probably do a measurement, and then I'll cut a hole in the top, because the hole in the top won't be too critical. And then, of course, that's where the speed controller is going to go. So I think that's the good solution there. I'm going to have to take my time with it to make sure that nothing gets muffed up. So, okay, yeah, you can see that the wire is not exactly center. It's off maybe by about 32nd of an inch, it looks like. Okay, so I may have to go over a little bit. I will mark, I think, the washer just to make sure. And that's a plan that I gotta do for both fans. And thank you for the dryer. Alright. Here we go. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we'll put this thing in first.